Welcome back everyone to more career mode gameplay of NASCAR Heat 5. And coming up in today's video, we're going short track racing. But before we can do that, we have some things to take care of. So we're going to hop over to the season standings and take a look at just how much we gained from the Darlington race. Race number 1 of the playoffs at Darlington was an amazing race for us. In fact, we did just about as good as I could have possibly hoped for at that event. Not only did we get stage points, but we also came home with a top 10 finish. So that is all I could have hoped for. And we are in 9th position right now at a plus 20 in the playoff grid. If we hop down a little bit, of course, we know that 12 cars are going to make it into the next round of the playoffs. But let's see how everybody else did down below that cutoff line. We see that, of course, Brendan Gaughan, we don't expect him to be very strong at all. However, they did get a victory, which is no small feat, which worked them into the playoffs overall. So congratulations to them for that. But if you look, everybody else that we would expect to be competitive really has been competitive in that first race. Nobody really worked themselves out of the playoffs at this point. So everybody is still very much within reach. And our plus 20 looks very good, and we worked very hard to get that. However, when we realize that we're just about to simulate Richmond, and we know what kind of finishes we've been getting on the simulation side, somewhere between 33rd and about 36th or 7th is what we've been getting. I don't have high hopes for that plus 20 lasting very long, but we're going to see exactly how well we can do. But before we do that, one more thing I wanted to point out to you guys. You can see here on the screen, I've already done the work on the chassis because I wanted to show you guys in the top right-hand corner, we're at $6.89 million. And we know that our next upgrade is going to be on the suspension. So in order to take our suspension from 95 to 100, it's going to take $8 million even. So about 1.1 or a little bit more away from where we are now. Now, I had originally hoped there was an outside chance that we might be able to get there after this Richmond race. We might have enough money to do it, but as you can see, that's just not going to be possible. In fact, we're not going to be able to get there until after the Bristol race. So I would have really preferred to go into Bristol with a fully upgraded engine and suspension, but the cards are not going to play out that way, so we're really going to have to push it and get the very best finish we can based on what's about to happen in Richmond. All right, so right now, what I'm going to do is select the car for the race. Now, I don't think it's going to matter which one of these two chassis I go with. Now, I don't want to go with the short track chassis because we need it for Bristol, which is the race following Richmond. So we don't want to touch that. Not that it would probably matter anyway in the simulated results. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose chassis number 1, which is going to be the weakest chassis overall, especially after the mismatch penalty. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And here we go. Simulate race. Are you sure you want to? Well, no, not really. But we're going to do it. And let's all hold our breath. 31st. Okay, hey, maybe we can be happy that 31st is a couple of spots better than what we've normally been doing. I guess, if we try to take some sort of positives out of it. And then, of course, as is standard for this game, they give you sloppy driving whenever you simulate a race. So, and I mentioned this recently in a comment. I can't remember exactly which video it was on, but you know, for a while, for those of you guys who have not been playing the NASCAR Heat series since NASCAR Heat Evolution, which was the very first one, at least in the reboot that they've done over the last few years, it was a highly requested feature to add in the ability for us to simulate races. And it's almost as if the developer said, okay, fine. Enough of y'all want to simulate races. However, we are going to punish you heavily for doing so. So not only whenever you simulate a race are we going to have you get a terrible finish, but then we are going to make sure that that chassis is absolutely horrible after the race is over. So we're going to get maximum punishment out of this race. So here we are, 35th position, and our chassis is in absolutely terrible shape afterwards. So Merry Christmas to us, and now we get to find out exactly what that did to our point standings. I do not have high hopes for our plus 20 that we had. So now let's hop over to the season standings. And okay, how did this happen? We are at a plus 17. Now, we did obviously lose a couple of spots. And you can see some guys in front of us have definitely pulled ahead. So your top 7 guys, I mean, plus 60, okay, they're in great shape. They have basically locked themselves in. But then Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, I mean, plus 39, you're not far from being locked in at that point either. But if we come down, we've got a plus 17 for us and then a plus 11 for William Byron. And then Chase Elliott has dropped 11 points. And then, of course, we've got, actually, this is pretty good for us. If you look at it from our perspective, we are at a plus 17. But if you look at how far we are ahead of 13th, we're at 2,050 points. Chase Elliott is the closest at 2033. So we do have a little bit of a buffer here headed into Bristol. So I definitely like that. So I'm going to breathe just a little bit now. It wasn't looking good before we simulated the race, and it definitely wasn't feeling good after we simulated the race and got that 31st place finish. But now, not too bad. These guys must have had horrible finishes in order for us to not lose very much of our lead at all. And I mean horrible finishes. But for us, that works out quite well. So with that in mind, we'll hop over to the work plan, and we need to get some work done on these chassis. Let's go ahead and auto assign. Shouldn't be any problem there because the short track chassis is already fully upgraded, so it's ready to go for Bristol. So now what we're doing is, of course, Speedway chassis number 2 is good to go, at least for now, because if you glance in the top right-hand corner, we're at almost $7.6 million. So basically what we need is about 400 grand out of the Bristol race in prize money, and that will allow us to do the upgrade on the suspension. My hope is that that suspension upgrade actually helps us in round 2 of the playoffs instead of our playoff run ending right here at Bristol. So that's my hope, and everything right now is looking very good for that. And one other note that I will point out, once we get into the Bristol race, you'll notice that I have likely forgotten all of the points information, who is around us, who we're trying to beat, who is trying to catch us, all those kinds of things. And the reason is I do that on purpose. Because it makes the race more fun for me to add that little extra unknown element to it that I don't know exactly who we're supposed to beat and what place we need to come into. That's just something that I do. I know probably most people want to know exactly who they're racing, exactly how many points they need to finish ahead, all that kind of thing. But for me, I like to just go have fun in the race, do the very best we can, and then see how it all plays out. All right, so all of the pre-race activities are done. Let's go ahead and select our car, which of course is going to be chassis number 3. All right, all that is done. Now we're headed to Bristol. All right, folks, it is race time here at Bristol. And I know we come in a great points position. However, we're going to treat this race the same as if we were right on the cut line or needed to gain points. Our job in stage 1 and 2 is to get as many stage points as we can, and then, of course, come away with the best finish as possible. And that's the way we're going to approach it. We come home in a great position. Really, 8th position is a great starting spot. Actually, it looks like somebody who was in front of us, may have been Kevin Harvick that we saw on the previous screen, but somebody failed the pre-race inspection. That puts us on the inside lane. All right, let's see what these guys have early on in the race. Of course, stage 1 and 2 will both be very short. They will fly by here. 15 laps here in stage number 1.
Stay low. Got one outside now.
All right, everybody is really jammed up together, which is exactly what you expect. Ouch. A little love tap there. We're going to have a lot of that here at Bristol.
Use it if you need it.
Oh, I like it when he says that. Top's free. That just simply means I don't have to be quite as... What on earth are you doing, Ryan Blaney?
You got room. You're clear.
All right, I did touch him, but the way he was behaving, you would have thought that I hit him over the head with a sledgehammer.
Car there on the inside. Clear low, bud.
But yeah, when you don't have anybody around, you can just sort of let the car flow through the corner. All right, and also I am now remembering that I did not change the setup at all from the last time we were here, which of course was when we had less motor. So we are running out of RPM on the straight. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal because the times will slow down, particularly once we get in traffic in stage 3 overall. But you can see we're hitting the rev limiter very hard. So I'm going to have to adjust my driving style a little bit for that. But yikes. So that's what I get for not running any practice.
Wow, that's fast.
I essentially just hopped into this thing
Inside. All right, clear low.
for qualifying, ran 1 lap, and that was it. Here we are starting the race.
That was a better lap.
All right, we are in 3rd position right now. I love it. And you can see behind us that we're not really getting a whole lot of pressure from really anybody other than, I believe that's the 19 behind us. So that's why you see me not terribly concerned about where we're running on the track. I'm just sort of running because 3rd position is amazing. And so I'm just letting the car flow through the corner. The bottom is feeling really good. Car is handling quite nicely.
Car there on the inside.
Even
All
if
right, you're clear.
the 19 car does get around us, which that'll be perfectly fine if he pressures us and eventually gets by.
Hold
That's
your
not
line,
a problem.
got 1 inside. 5 to go, you got this. Load clear.
Oh, hello. He gave us a little love tap there. It looks like it hurt him more than it hurt us. All right, yeah, the temperature gauge is going to be fussing at us. And that's because we're running so many RPMs. All right, but I will take it. Right now, we are in great position. I mean, we're in a podium position at Bristol in a playoff race. I mean, that's... If you want to talk about trying to cement your spot into the next round of the playoffs, there are not many better ways to do it than that.
2 to go, driver.
And you can see we are getting into traffic.
Looking inside now. Got 1 peeking inside. All clear. Hold your line. Got 1 inside. Car high. Careful.
All right, that was a little
Last
closer than I
your
would have
mark.
preferred.
All right, you're
Having to
clear.
go
Car there on the
top
inside.
to bottom there. All right, I'm not going to fight him too hard for this. I wanted to finish 3rd, no doubt. But the way things played out, I wasn't going to fight him terribly hard because that 1 point isn't the end of the world for us. We'll come home 4th. I am perfectly fine with that. All right, so stage 1, we'll put a nice check mark next to that. We did exactly what we needed to do. Do not pit. I'm still trying to think, do we want to pit after stage 2? Because boy, would that make it fun. Trying to come through the crowd at Bristol.
Almost ready. Looking inside now.
It's like trying to come through the crowd at Martinsville. It's, yeah, have fun with that.
Looking
All right,
inside
I'm
now.
trying. Oh, can we get down?
Inside. You got room. You're clear there.
Yes, we did. Sure, Kyle Busch really appreciated that.
Still there inside. All right, you're clear there.
All right, so for those of you who are wondering, okay, so what would you do if you had the temperature gauge blinking at you and you're running out of RPMs, you know, you're hitting that rev limiter really hard and everything like we are. So how do you adjust to that? What can you do in the car driving? Now, obviously, if you can make some setup changes, then you would simply
10 to go.
adjust your gearing, lower that number. Here at Bristol, we're probably using something around a 5.0 or a 514 gear. So if you're using a 514, you would drop it down to maybe a 5.0, and that would lower your RPMs. If you wanted to lower the temperature to get rid of that temperature gauge flashing at us and risking overheating the engine, then you would simply reduce the amount of tape. Unfortunately, the tape really doesn't do anything for you in this game other than increase the temperature of the engine. So it doesn't do what it's supposed to do in real life, which is unfortunate. So that's what you would do in either a pit stop or in the garage area if you're able to work on the setup completely. But during the race, how would you adjust your driving? Is there a way that you could do it? Well, there is. Actually, what you can do, and you'll notice I'm not really doing a whole lot of anything very different because the temperature gauge is not staying on. If it were staying on, I would have to make some changes to how I'm driving the car. But since it's not, I'm simply just going on about my business for the most part. But if it were staying on, then what I would do is simply back up the corner. I would get out of the gas earlier on corner entry and simply float the car in. If you normally use a little bit of brake or a lot of brake on corner entry at Bristol, then I would simply back the corner up another car length or so and not use any, or very little, if any. And that way you would turn fewer RPMs, and overall your speed shouldn't change a whole lot for lap times. Because backing up the entry should mean that you can carry more speed throughout the corner without charging the corner as hard.
Still there. All right, clear outside.
All right, but right now we're sitting here in third.
I need 2 more good laps from you.
But I am maybe letting off a little bit earlier on corner entry, but not a whole lot.
Stay low, stay low.
All right, trying to work our way through this traffic, and this is just stage 2. Keep in mind that stage 3 is going to be longer, and that's where we're really going to get into the traffic. All right, so final lap here of stage 2, and I've just been having a nice Sunday stroll, really, for the most part. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, there was really no pressure on us throughout that stage. And okay, so we're sitting here in third position now. Again, another successful stage. I will take it. So there's no way I can really pit here. We could, of course, and make it a lot of fun, but at this point, let's just finish this race off strong. Hopefully, we don't want any contact. We don't want any issues. We just want to bring this thing home with the best finish possible.
Got one up top.
Yeah, these guys do not get off to a fast start. I'm tempted to throw it in there 3 wide underneath.
Stay low, stay low.
Oh, look out, look out, look out.
All clear. You got room, you're clear there.
All right, so the AI definitely have some interesting behaviors. I did make a little bit of contact with the 2 car, but of course, he overreacted to the point it was like I hit him with a sledgehammer. All right, so second position. So now first thing, as we get going here in the final stage, we got 29 laps remaining, which again is not very long at Bristol, but it's certainly much longer than what we have been getting in the first 2 stages. So the first thing is, do we have enough speed to stick here in the second position? And then of course, the question we really want to know the answer to is, do we have enough speed to catch and pass the leader? Yeah, you can hear that engine is just turning all sorts of RPMs. But right now, I mean, we're hanging in there. That wasn't the best entry there. But again, we're getting no pressure from behind, so I'm basically just letting the car float through the corner for the most part. As long as we're sticking in there with him, I know that this race is going to be won or lost based on what we do in traffic, so I'm not pushing the car terribly hard right now. If I get into the corner and the car wants to drift up high a little bit more than normal, I let it drift. And if it goes in and performs great on the bottom like that, and we have an opportunity to maybe show the nose underneath the 19 car, then I'll do that. I don't think we're going to be able to pass him on the outside. I don't think so anyway. But whatever presents itself, you can see that lap traffic is not that far ahead of us. And we'll see if the race is going to be long enough for us to get deep into lap traffic. We'll see how far up into the field we start to lap here in this stage, but I've got a feeling that we're going to lap well up into the 20s, maybe like 23rd, 25th position or something. I think we'll have a long enough stage to get there, and that is going to make things very, very interesting at the end of this race, especially if they start to run side by side like this. Like these guys were in front of us. Now they got single file right as he got to them. But for just a moment, there was a lot of tension. You could see the 19 car have to back out of it.
Careful, still there. 20 laps to go.
All right, so what I'm looking for right now is an opportunity. An opportunity would mean, whew, a little loose coming off the corner there. Didn't really feel bad, but I jumped back into throttle a little bit too hard.
Stay low,
and too quick.
All right, you're clear.
All right, so I'm looking for an opportunity where he gets stuck behind lap traffic.
All right, you're clear.
And I can maneuver my way around. So I've got a little bit of an advantage over him right now in that he's getting to the traffic first. He has to make the decision first, and then I can try to do what he doesn't have the opportunity to do.
Still there?
All right, the 47 is going to get right in the way here.
Hold that line.
Oh, we're going to try to make it through here.
All right, you're clear.
Wow, that was close. But that was our shot, and I knew it. That was our shot to pin him in behind the lap car and get out in front. So that's exactly what I did. Now, we did have some contact because we ended up 3 wide. And I don't remember who that was on the bottom that was below us because we were the meat in the sandwich.
Still there.
Not exactly where you want to be.
All right, you're clear.
All right, so now we are in the lead. I have no idea where the 19 is behind us. Haven't really had a chance to pay it much of attention just yet. I'll try to look up here in a moment if we can get just a little bit of clear track. Oh, hello.
Car there on the inside. All right, you're clear.
All right, let's see. Well, how about that? My timing must have been terrible because as soon as I look in our rear view mirror, all I can see is the car I just passed. All right, 13 laps to go.
Careful, still there. Clear high, bud.
Wow. Again, I could use the leaderboard, live timing and scoring, and see exactly where he's at, but I prefer not to do that in these races. Again, just trying to keep some things unknown. All right, now I have to be careful that I don't get myself trapped in here, lose a bunch of time,
You got room.
and allow him to run me down. All right, right now these guys are being pretty simple with me. They're not doing what the AI and NASCAR Heat normally do now, which is spread out all over the track. They're for the most part sticking to the bottom, which is helping me a ton, because that means I can just simply float the car on the top.
You got room. You're clear there.
And make it happen that way. Now always remember, your car will be looser on the top of the track than on the bottom. So if your car is really tight during the race, and again, you're not going to have any opportunity to make setup changes, and you need to loosen the car up, then the best way to do that is simply run higher on the track. Everybody will have their favorite spot on the track to run whenever they have the option. But oh my goodness, look at this mess. All right, I have no idea where to go now. I think I'll stick with the bottom for the moment. All right, I think we're 3 wide here.
Still there.
So on one hand, I really want to get through this traffic as quickly as possible and put as many cars between us and second places as we can. But also, keep in mind that we don't want to mess things up too bad, get ourselves in a wreck, get a bunch of damage, something like that. All right, we're stuck behind the 00 right now.
5 to go.
And I can't get high because the 9 car is right there. All right, let's see if we can make this happen with the double zero. Of course, the double zero is not doing anything wrong. There's just nowhere he can go.
You're clear. You're all clear up top.
Places like Bristol and Martinsville, short tracks in general, there's just nowhere to hide. You know, a slow car can try to get out of the way as best they can, but at some points,
All right, you're clear.
there's just nowhere to go. Once again, we're about to find ourselves in the middle of 3 wide there, so I backed out of it.
Still there. White flag, next time by. Got a car coming inside now. All clear. Looking inside now.
Yeah, this lap traffic, boy, this makes things very interesting. Oh no, now we're going to get
Still
stuck
there?
behind the 62. Okay.
You got one to go. Got one peeking inside.
All right, so we're just sort of stuck here. And because none of these guys are for position, I just sort of let it go until I could drop in behind and get clear of the 62. But here we go, coming off of turn 4,
Nice job, driver. You're the
and
boss.
we get the victory at Bristol. I do kind of want to see what the margin of victory was, because I never saw, anytime after we made that pass for the lead, I never saw Truex in our mirror. Okay, so 3 seconds behind us. And it looks like he was having quite the battle with a few other cars. Look at Matty D jumping up there and getting a great finish at Bristol with a top 5. All right, that is exactly, I mean, really, we came home, what was it, 4th in the first stage, 3rd in the second stage, and then overall the victory. And of course, the victory guarantees you a spot in the next round of the playoffs, but it was just about a perfect race for us here at Bristol, all things considered. So let's go ahead and continue on. And our race earnings, look at that, $1.27 million. Easily our biggest purse of the year. Wow, that is huge. And definitely much needed. I mean, we will be able to put that to good use in the future. So 1.27 million, and then finally the playoff standings. So a couple of things happen here. Of course, by virtue of the victory, we guarantee ourselves a spot in the next round of the playoffs, round number 2, the round of 12. However, it gets better than that, because now we got playoff points, which we can then move forward into the next round. So the more playoff points we can get, the more it helps us. So we'll take those 5 playoff points for the victory and hopefully be able to use those to make our life just a little bit easier in the next round of the playoffs. Wow, what a race. It's Bristol. I mean, what more can you say than that? So that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and stick around as it's time for round 2 of the NASCAR playoffs.